think so. Okay.
Okay, last week, remember, we did wheat. Sorry? Wheat. Last week we did wheat. And, they say that wheat is like the king of all
Of the
food.
grains, because it's a state, it can give life. Bread can sustain life.
It's just amazing.
Months.
It's just amazing. Like even yesterday, whatever, I was learning Nash and was talking about how David Melech was asking for bread, and it was Shabbos, and it was they only had the lechem of honey, which could only be eaten by certain people. And I said to and it was like this whole thing about having this bread. And I said to my husband, well, why didn't if there was a question about whether he could eat bread, because you have to be tapor and if you're going. But I said, so why is he so big on the bread? Why don't you just say, well, okay, you don't have any bread, can I have a piece of chicken? Can I have like some fruit? And it was only bread. I just thought of that right now. It's interesting. That's so interesting. So yeah, that's
So you're saying it from a medical point, you're saying.
No, I mean, think about the Holocaust too. That's all we had. Bread and water, bread.
right. And that's what we said. Yaakov asked for.
I saw that they changed the structures and since.
Well, see, that's interesting. You're saying that.
Today.
Right.
Something I created something. I'm not really.
There's probably a lot of it's genetically modified.
It's interesting you're saying that because Shabbos is a thing, right? It's a thing to have Pas means bread, Shabbos means morning.
Oh, eat bread in the morning, yes.
So then there's plenty of people who do intermittent fasting and they don't eat bread in the morning, right? So actually one of my kids said something like, it's just interesting things. When the Chachamim said Pas Shabbos, they were not talking about the bread that we get today from angels or from vermin. They're talking about bread that you made yourself and you had fresh bread.
Real wheat and sourdough.
Completely different.
Interesting.
Now it's not.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very.
Hashem still can. Even like that, right?
Right. So that was wheat that we did last week, and now we're starting today with barley. So it, like she says in the book, she goes, if wheat is the king of foods, barley is like the impoverished cousin.
Yeah.
Barley is considered
Poor man's food.
Poor man's food, animal food, like fodder, right? So it says, Shibul Shula So'orim, called So'orim. It's called So'orah, right? It's one of the Shiva Samini, one of the special foods. Right. So what does he say? The barley says, Tefila la'ani ki atov, v'nei Hashem ishpok sicho. Little bit poetic. A prayer for the pauper when
the poor person.
Yes. When he is faint and pours out his speech before Hashem. Okay, so it's showing that when a person is poor in any way, poor money-wise, poor emotionally, poor spiritually, whatever, what are you supposed to do? Pour out your heart. And it's very, very interesting. The Ramban says, yeah, because different people have different opinions about if tefillah is actually an obligation. The Ramban holds that if you are in need, dire need, then you're obligated to daven. And if you don't, that means you're not doing like hishtadlut, you're not doing the effort that you're supposed to. So it's like it's like taking davening to a whole different level of davening. It's not like it's a nice thing to do, and if I get around to it, I'll do it. Like there's a story, I don't know if it's true or not, it doesn't matter. A story of a woman with 13 kids. And they say, you have 13 kids, you have time to daven? And she says, I have 13 kids, I'm not gonna daven.
Wow, wow,
My goodness.
wow. That's such a
Switch. Yeah,
perspective of life,
yeah.
perspective of life.
Perspective, like, I said to my husband this morning, I said, what we're going through in our personal life and with the war and Yantiv is coming up. I said, I feel like I'm dizzy. I don't even know what to worry about. I said, sometimes there's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to worry about. But to keep the tefillah going, here it is, a prayer of the prophet. It's like tefillah la'ani. It's like, this is what you're supposed to do when you're feeling like you're in a need. A person could be like, go on shidduchim for like how many times, or go for fertility testing how many times, and then they could just say, I can't do this anymore, and sometimes you do have to take a break, and then sometimes you have to just keep Hashem such
Yeah.
So they said actually that that the Chazal learned in the Shulchan Aruch learned two principles of davening from this pasuk. We're doing the barley, and what the barley says is tefillah la'ani yatov b'pnei Shem shkol siko. The prayer of the poor person when he's faint pours out speech before Shem. So the two things that Chazal learned from this is that he should incline his head a little towards the floor with awe and fear or submission, like a pauper. Like when you're davening, we should be like a little bit like this, a little bit like in submission. No, it's not submission like I'm a loser, I'm not good, I'm not like that. It's not like that at all. It's submission like I know that you have all the keys to everything.
And you're above me.
You're above me. And it's like so many people don't know this, but the word yarmulke.
We're what?
Yarmulke. What's a yarmulke?
Keeper?
Yeah. Yarmulke comes from two words, Yereh Melech, the fear of Hashem.
Ah.
It's something between you and Hashem. I know, it's like you said it in other times, yarmulke.
That's why the second world went wrong, and then stopped learning.
Right.
And, not saying
Yeah.
but they needed that to, they lost it.
And the
Oh,
interesting
that's
thing,
interesting.
yeah,
That's very interesting. That I think there's something to that. It's like there is something to
I
that.
get busy with every man and every.
Or a half.
I
Yeah.
haven't seen men daven without praying, but they were in their heads. It's just a certain, like, it's just so important. And Elimelech, is it really important? I'm giving a class. Okay, sweetie. Okay. Around 12:30. I'm sorry, it's when my kids come.
That's right.
The other thing we learn is that this is interesting because not everybody goes this way, but this is from the Shulchan Aruch, so whatever, that we shouldn't shout when davening.
Why should we?
Should not shout while davening.
Why would anybody shout like that?
There are people who daven. I can think of two groups right now, and I don't want to say whatever, that they daven. Right, right. I even have a friend who will not go to her daughter, the Seder, because her husband shouts the whole Seder.
Oy.
So she can't deal with it.
I don't
Like
blame
you think your daughter, I have to be with your grandchildren and everything during the Seder. She stop. Yeah. Are you getting old?
I mean, you couldn't stand the noise.
Yeah, it is, So this is really nice. This is Mamash from, there's a source here, Talmud Shali. It says, as a man verses the ear of his friend and he hears. You don't have to talking to your friend. Your friend is listening to you. You don't have to shout. It's like this whole idea of having this relationship with Hashem, like that. He gives us the permission. Hashem is giving us this permission to treat him like a friend and to
Our Abba.
And it's interesting you're saying that's because there's a lot of things that I'm listening to lately that are talking about how Hashem is Avinu Malkeinu, our Father and our King, and some people are stretched way too much the Malkeinu and forgetting about the Avinu. Like why?
What's her
Writer?
name? Yeah,
A
she's
lot
been
of people
writing
talk
about
about-
it.
Yeah, so yeah, I was listening to Rabbi Moshe Weinberger, and just like people go off the deck. Why should they want to go to Rosh Hashanah when nobody wants to be judged? Would you judge? Nobody wants that. No, we want our Father. Our Father. He said, when you get a punch, the punch is okay if you know you're going to get this also. He kept doing that. You get a punch, but you're also going to get this on the other side. But if you're just going to get a punch, then you're not going to feel anything else. I told you this in the round.
To get to slap.
What?
To get to slap.
Yeah, just we want to feel it. So barley said barley is a food for the poor person and for animals. It's cheaper than wheat. It's easier to grow and it's more filling.
Right.
Okay. So we know about the carbon omer that was given on the second day of Pesach, right? It was a measure of fresh barley, brought, and it was a progressive prerequisite for all grain harvesting. And it says in Pergamos, it says, Rabbi Yonah San Omer, Kol HaMekayem Esatar Me'oni, Sofer Mekayem Me'osher. Sofer Kima Me'osher. Whoever fulfills the Torah in poverty will in the end fulfill it with wealth. And it's when we left Mitzrayim in poverty meaning spiritually poverty, right? We came up with the Omer until we came up to Shavuos. And very interesting, and Shavuos is the only time where you have to eat hummus. You can eat, you don't have to eat hummus. Shavuos. You have to have the honey, you have to have the shofar, and you have to, because it's the idea of osher. We left time. We worked for 49 days, and then when we get to our Sinai, this is what we have to do. We have to move away from the animals side that we were in 49th level of Torah, and move towards more holiness of getting the Torah on Shavuot. And that's represented by the barley offering on the first day of the 50-day count, right? The loaves of wheat brought at Shavuos were the shtei lechem, and barley is the animal food representing our animal cells. The wheat is associated with dots, right? It's So Rav Hirsch says that whenever you have a Tehillim and it has the words Evion, Dal, Ani, these are all words for poverty. I don't have it. I learned recently what some of the differences between an Ani and a Dal. I have to write it down. It was interesting. It usually says something about us and our sad fate, something sad. So it says when one feels faint, because he translates when we said to feel anikiat right? That can mean wrapped or it can mean faint, right? So it says when he's feeling faint, it says that when one feels faint and the weakened condition of his body gives rise also to the ability of the spirit, then he feels impelled to seek relief and restoration by voicing these thoughts and emotions before Hashem. So these are the things that something comes our way, and we're like, I can handle this. This is just too hard. It's a wake up call. It's a sign that Hashem is like.
A sign that what?
Hashem's waiting for you to feel this. This is what Hashem wants. Hashem wants us to turn to Him. And there's actually times when, we don't want these things to happen. We don't want these wake up calls. So if you keep turning to Hashem, then sometimes these things don't have to happen. Like, thank you, Hashem. Thank you. There's people who are very into thank you, Hashem. right? And if you keep thanking Hashem, then you don't have to have these wake-up calls where you're going to be turned to recalls to turn to Hashem, and I need this and I need that, whatever. But this is this idea of the prayer of the pauper, the prayer of somebody who's in need of whatever is going to. I have to say that last week I had root canal. Yeah. And I have a hard time with the dentist. What?
I know you don't like it.
I don't like it. And I have a great dentist if anyone needs for Hashem, Druzy. It's very professional, but he only works with me. Anyways, before I went in there, I said to Hashem, please let this hurt as little as possible. And I thought, what? I get to feel is that.
What kind of what?
I wanted to feel it. So I said, Hashem, please make me have no pain. Yes. I had no pain.
Wow.
Because what? We don't believe it.
Wow.
Maybe I don't believe I deserve it. Maybe I'll be disappointed. He did 4 shots. It was not so bad at all. And I had no pain. But do you understand what I'm saying? Like, that's not the point. The point is, I said, which thing am I saying? Why can't I? I'm afraid. Like, what are we afraid of? We don't. We shouldn't down before. No, but why not? Why did I say this?
Right, go for the whole thing. Right, so it's like, some of it is like maybe self-doubt, maybe some of it's doubting of Hashem.
Exactly.
It's a combination.
Right.
Okay, so that's the key.
So we said that it says Hashem Yishpoch Sicho, that he pours out speech for Hashem. So the law means that the siach is a very special form of prayer. It really means speech, right? Like the sikha is a conversation. It's used in the sense, listen to this, it's so beautiful. It's used in the sense of words that flow in one's mind as he meditates, and the flow of words as he prays. So just, I think sometimes we're so caught up in how we daven, and what I mean, what words should we say, and how should we say it, and how much should we daven, and I keep davening for the same thing over and over. Hashem, like, is he sick of me davening for this kid for shidduchim? Like, maybe I shouldn't be doing that anymore because it's all, like all that stuff that we get in our minds that we have to just like let it flow, just have that thing where it flows and just.
But shouldn't we just be talking? I mean, for me, I talk to Hashem like I'm talking to my best friends, and just, have conversations and talk from my heart.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think all those questions and all those things gets in the way.
100%. 100%. Okay, the next one is Shar Hashibulim, the other grains. So this is including corn, rice, millet, oats, spelt. I remember when Judy was doing when you were doing your mezuzahs. Yeah, and like, so how do you do like the wheat and the barley? How do you make it look? What? They're different. They're different. You have to do.
They're actually shaped, right?
So, but you know that because you.
You know what? Now I don't know. Now I don't remember which one. Which I knew it then.
It's kind of brown, but we usually show
The start of this week.
And the wheat stalk.
I think it's wheat.
It's
Yeah.
Yeah, my point is you don't pay attention unless you're paying attention. It's just.
And one is greater.
I'm not sure.
I don't think I ever saw a barley field.
Okay, so it's good for you to look at time because it's wordy. Okay, so what does the brain say? Right. It's animal food. Right.
Why is this all around bread?
Sorry?
Why is it all around bread?
Interesting, right? That's a good observation.
Why
Very
is it
good
all around
observation.
praying?
Yeah.
I don't understand. You're saying like, why do we pray?
Right.
But all of this is food I mean, wheat, like we just said, wheat sustains
Right.
us.
Right, because then there's later on, there's a whole bunch of passages that talk about redemption. Like talked about like from Yirmiyahu, and so they had that group. So that it is interesting. Yeah. Right.
No, give us that statement. Give us soup.
Right.
Water.
Yeah.
And bread.
Yeah. Okay, so the grains say Lavshu Karim Hatson Namakim Yashu Bar Yisrael Af Yeshiru. The flocks are very poetic. The flocks are clothed on the meadows, and valleys are enwrapped with grain. They shout for joy, indeed they sing. Okay, so first of all, you should know that this capital Tehillim was composed in thanks for rain after a 3-year famine. Okay, so that's the reference of what's going on. So man needs to learn the lesson of nature. Spring follows winter, and prayer nourishes growth. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And it's always like this idea of spring follows winter. And winter is considered cold and dark.
Well, it is.
Yes, it is. It's cold and it's dark.
That is the reality.
No, because there are a lot of people, there's such a thing called spring fever, right? Like people are like,
You're getting out again, light
right.
again.
And then there's a thing, there's a bunch of letters it stands for, I don't like to talk about negative things, but like people get depressed in the winter.
I just want to go back. I want to go back to what you said before. I'm just thinking about it, and I'm thinking, think about, like, all right, you go to the store, you buy bread, or we make challah. We get flour, we make challah. But think about like thousands of years ago. How in the world would a human being know? They see stalks of wheat. How in the world did anybody figure out? Oh, you take this from the stalk, and then you have to do this, and then you have to do this, and then you have to and I have to add water, and I have to think about like.
I've thought of different things, like, can you imagine, like, the Indians are sitting around, and all of a sudden somebody takes like some of that corn and puts it near the fire, put it in the pot. This is a nice snack.
Put some butter on
Just get the
top.
butter and burrs yeast and salt.
I mean, to me, it's like, talk about prayers.
Yeah.
Talk about prayers. If you step back and think of the process of what it takes from looking at something to figuring out how to utilize it to sustain our body.
Or we drop something in the earth. And it just disintegrates and it disappears. But if drop a piece of grain in the earth, it doesn't. It disintegrates to give birth to the wheat. Why it does not like become a piece of garbage? Why?
You know what they say.
But this is the beginning of the process.
But that's like we like a time illusion what we forgot. Sorry, Mesa was a prophetess. Hashem gave probably to know what to do. She made challah. And she had a, Shamina was in her.
But how we don't know?
Right. You know what they say about when you put a seed in the ground. So you have a choice. If you feel buried, it's not my thought. If you feel buried, you have a choice. If you feel like you're under the ground, you have a choice. Are you being buried or are you being planted?
What is it? Are you being buried or being planted?
It's Rabbi YY.
What you said. You just said.
Sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, I can't see and it's dark and I don't see any lights. But because Hashem is planting you.
What?
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah. Yeah,
So much.
yeah.
And the also,
Yeah.
I didn't hear you.
Just say things like that when we put something in the home, but
Um,
they plan to.
So it says in Rosh Hashanah, it says in Nisan, when the time to harvest has arrived and the grains stand tall and stiff, the wind blows and they sway against each other and the sound is heard and it seems as though they are singing. Can you imagine? That's right. That's in the Gemara. Because this is, remember what we said? I'm going to say it in English. It said they shout for joy, indeed they sing. So like this poetry, this imagery of actually the singing. And then the Rashi says that, it says, the pasuk says, and the valleys are wrapped with rains. It says, for the rains, from the rains will the valleys be wrapped with rains, and the creation will shout out with joy and sing from the plentiful blessing. This is a whole. Sorry, the grains it says the flocks are clothed on the meadows, and also it says that they're clothed on the meadows. That there's so much flock. There's like a carpet of sheep. So because it was after it rains, right? It was after 3 year drought. So now it's like a very poetic, beautiful imagery of all these sheep, like, like on this white, furry, soft stuff, and that they actually the grasses are singing because they're so happy that they have rain. Now it's interesting that there's if you think about this, sometimes it says shear and sometimes it says shira. Not every word is like that, right? Like you don't have kos and kosam, but you do have shear and shira. So good old Rav Hirsch, can always count on him to tell us what's the difference. Shir is a song in which the hand of Hashem is beheld as it rules in the course of time and history. I'm gonna explain this. Shir, which is a masculine form, alludes to the ultimate redemption of the future. And think about it, what does it say? Az Yashir. We will sing, and that's to do with future, right? Moshe Rabbeinu taught the Jewish people the shir, and he said as Yashir was to do with which is masculine, which was to do with the future, and it also has to do with Perek Shira. It's not Perek Shira, and that's what she talked about. This, I think, in the introduction that one of the Chachamim in the introduction, which people say, it's not just an introduction, part of Perek Shira is to say it, is to say that shir is meant to be said in the time to come. So we're talking about shir. Tanya Omer Rabbi Eliezer, Kol Omer Shira Zubo Olam Hazeh Shenemar Az Yashir Moshe. That we will go to sing. The Moshe said we're going to sing Sharlo Nemar. It doesn't say that they're singing Ela Yashir, that they're going to sing in the future time to come. So this idea of shir in the masculine is to do with the redemption. And shira, which is the feminine, indicates a song that deals with the present acts of God, which will lead to the ultimate goal. So shira is more of like the present of what's going on right now.
Remember, there was two shul in Yerushalayim,
Shir Hadash.
Shir Hadash, Shir Hadash.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, they're still there.
Wow.
Shir Hadash, Shir Hadash, and Shira Hadasha.
But also about rain. Hashem can give us like rivers. We don't need to rain. We just have plenty of water. Hashem did not want it. He did not give us water. Why? Because the rain comes from heaven. And Hashem wants our prayers.
Right.
And Hashem, otherwise, Hashem did not want our prayer. He knows plenty of things, but Hashem wants our prayer. And if we pray, we need to say, Hashem wants my prayer.
100%.
Hashem wants to have something from my heart to give. And Hashem enjoy it. And everything we pray, we need to say, Hashem loves my prayer.
It's
And
it's
our
it's no, it's the
what you said, it's relationship with Hashem. You
Right.
just pray like,
100%.
it's like relationship. Like I say a prayer for my beloved one, for Hashem loves my prayer and give him a little. My prayer gives him joy, and the prayer gives him.
Right, beautiful. You know, tefillah comes from the word from the name Naftali, it's to be to connect. And it's interesting because the source of the Parsi Tov comes from that Adam davened for rain, right? Rashi. And I'm just thinking, why did Adam saw that because there was grass, but it was underneath, it didn't come up until Adam davened for rain. So now I'm thinking, so why did Adam daven for rain? Wasn't there rivers and stuff? Like, why didn't he do irrigation? Like, why did, like, he's too advanced. Well, no, yeah, he needed Noah. Noah came up with the tools of a baby, like, yeah, it's pretty. Okay, so Rav Hirsch says that, and it says, peace row, ooh, it expresses loud, exciting rejoicing. And I just wrote, see, when it's my idea, I write so that it's just my idea. But, that, I don't know, it has the same root as trua, like the shofar. But that's just my idea. I don't know if that's. He said that's the kind of, they said they shout for joy. They were just like this idea of shouting for joy. And then I just saw the word that has the same root as shofar. So I don't know. I didn't. Interesting. Yeah. The lush vegetation which grows as a result of the rains attracts countless sheep to the meadows, and they look like a thick cloth, like the whole place is covered, right? Okay. The Radak says that fresh winds which blow gently from full-grown stalks of grain produce a soft, pleasant hum, which sounds like the hymn of joy. Like,
Oh, see, that's the singing, that's the Shira.
it's like unbelievable. Like, if you just think like the Radak, like he said, like how, like we think of like the Farshim as like, explaining things and making sure things are clear, but this is like so beautiful and so poetic.
But that's their singing.
Right. So it says, similarly, when Israel returns from exile, they will be rejuvenated and invigorated to sing out of sheer ecstasy. I mean, like, whatever. I mean, to me, one of the most exciting parts of all of the Torah is Miriam.
Is what?
Miriam singing the women, Miriam Navia.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, can you imagine, like, what, I don't know. I could just see us, over there and just with, I don't know, of us just finally all singing and just,
With our tambourine.
There you go.
With our tambourines.
I was thinking, like when Jewish left Egypt, what did they take? If I give my valuables, my kids.
Yeah.
Tambourines.
Yeah, I love it.
They take tambourines, and tambourines not little. They were pretty big.
Yeah.
They take tambourines because they felt they don't need.
Yeah. No, it was a total act of
Thinking, live in country for them.
It's a total act of It wasn't a question in her
That's what
mind.
she said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally.
I mean, can you imagine how many husbands said, sweetheart?
The donkey's full.
Right.
And maybe you have like a little triangle you could bring instead.
Maybe we need to do that class again, Judy. That tambourine class.
Yeah, my daughter.
What's your daughter? You know what? We all need, mine.
I have one.
Yes, maybe we should do that class.
Next time I bring it to them. Next time bring it to them. This tambourine, they are two beautiful tambourines, real ones.
Okay, the next one is the Yerikot, the vegetables. What do they have here? Oh, I think they have here a carrot. I made carrot cake last time for the seeing. Sorry? Do you have cabbage? Oh, here's a cabbage. You're right. So what was a carrot? Okay, but maybe it's. Oh, you're right. It is a cabbage.
Oh, it could be anything. Why
It
not?
could. It could be.
I mean, anything. And mine has the whole.
Yeah.
How are we supposed to understand that these vegetables thing, like you go, you take a cabbage and cut it up so separately? That's what we have. Huh?
Put a microphone next to it.
But they do, but they do. Yeah,
What about when you cut them up and spread them up? Oh, yeah.
They do.
The bottom line is that you're eating it and you're what we're supposed to be doing here is like, it's just not information, it's about Hashem. So we're learning what each creation says. And we're learning two things. One thing we're learning, I mean, a lot of things, especially if people have been in this classroom, we can add to it. But two things that I learned from it is one is how many different Hashem created for humanity. How much he loves humanity. He had all these different tools and different things. He didn't have to do that. You know, there used to be a kid's book about, and it would start off in black and white. Hashem did not need to make all these different foods and all these different colors. It's
Texture,
and they
taste.
didn't have and they didn't have people that could. And all these different things, Hashem, it just shows Hashem had a relationship with us. So Hashem went out of his way to make so many different things, and so many different birds. Do you know how many birds are? I was like totally taken when I started getting inside about the Perek Shira's birds. Like just so many kinds of birds. Interestingly enough, he only has one. I think there's only one songbird fish. But birds, so many different birds. And they, what? No fun, but not in this Perek Shira. So the two things is it's like how much Hashem has gone this way for us humans. The second thing is his extreme power. Listen, it's like go back to like things like when I said when I was davening. This is like the second chapter of Shara beats why you should trust Hashem. It's because Hashem is the only one who can help you. It's because Hashem is available 24/7. It's because Hashem knows better for you than anybody else. It's because like there's just all these things that's only Hashem. And what milvado, and what milvado. Like that's like a thing that the person starts freaking out. You know, you get to a place where you're just like, how is this gonna work? Don't know. Like there's some people who really feel like, how is this war ever gonna end? How is Corona ever gonna end? And you get to a place where you just, sometimes, usually hopefully we're continuing with our lives, but sometimes you can just get to not a good place. And go, how is this going there? Don't know. That's okay. That's not my job. Hashem. And you see in Perek Shira, like 85 different ways that Hashem reacts with us and how many different things to learn from it.
But they've also found that plants can make.
What?
Plants, vegetables really have really feels. You know, I didn't hear myself.
I can't hear you.
There's, I think that's,
You know.
I don't know, they tried it. Didn't work.
What?
Like you take a plant, one yellow, one speaks nice, two. And the ones that you speak nice to. Like different one that I don't know. Like cheese, I give it some stuff. Easy. It can leave a leaf like the fire. It's amazing. People say I mean like water.
Yeah. Okay, so the song of the vegetables is also from Tehillim. Yeah, we're doing a lot of Tehillim today. Talamea Rabbe, Talamea Rabbe, Haste Duda, Berivivim Timogena, Simchat Tivarech. You water its furrows abundantly, you settle its ridges, you make it soft with showers, you bless it with growth. So this Tehillim is talking about the blessings of the water cycle. Okay, so what are talamim? Talamim, which are ridges, are the mounds of dirt which are formed by plowing, Hashem causes these roads to be watered generously by the rains. Okay, and then when it says Gedudim, it actually means like scratches, like you red yourself, right? So the deep furrows between the ridges created by plowing, so the rainwater settles in the furrows and nourishes the planted, the seeds planted there. So basically, we're talking about this whole cycle and miracle about how vegetables, the different stages. I mean, somebody was in agriculture, they would just go, oh yeah, it needs to happen, and the water has to come at this time and not that time. And it's too much water to make the things what do you call it, rot, and what all the whole system, right? So they say that the heavy rains come and soften the soil, which was formerly hard and wasn't able to be tilled, which is something that happens a lot of time in the first rains here in Israel. When we get very heavy rain, because the earth has been really, really hard from the summer and the lack of rains. Where it says, Samcha Tivarech, for growth, you bless the farmer, says, after the rains of heavenly blessing, the crops flourish, growing to heights of surpassing those who would ordinarily be expected. So it's just like this whole miracle, continuing this whole miracle of the vegetables and of the fact that there's so many things, there's so many details that needs to happen for us to have vegetables. What I was saying before is another thing to appreciate, instead of just going, break for a dama and eating a carrot, just be like all the things that have to happen for this carrot to come to be. And like nowadays, I think we're ruining a lot of it, whatever, but that's man, not the way it's supposed to, right? So he's talking about also the idea of Ishmei Bracha. There's rains that are just an incredible amount of bracha that be in it to make it so that we get all the vegetables when we need it. You ever wonder about how Tom and Nissan?
What?
All of a sudden, Nissan, there's so many potatoes around. Like how did like all of a sudden everybody needs kilos and kilos of potatoes for
I think
Pesach.
they just take out more out of storage.
That's why I've heard that too.
I don't think that's such.
Okay.
But they had a
Sometime. The entire gamut of trees and vegetation had not yet flourished because man was not yet on the scene. That's what we're talking about before. As soon as he appears with his ruach milamala, his soul that can pray, the plants grew. Right? This is what we were talking about before. That Hashem, when man came and he had this ruach milamala, this soul from above, that is when everything started to grow. So if man is loyal to Torah and mitzvah, the result is the abundance of the original rains of Gan Eden.
But before that, they had bread actually. They said, right?
We're talking about Adam. Who was before Adam?
Okay, before Adam, before the sin.
There was nobody there.
No, but he was fed bread already, like they said, right? Tree, whatever, something like this, right? So I think that was already there. Yeah. But when he sinned, now he has to pray for.
Oh, no, but you have to pray first. Well, he prayed to get the water.
He
was fed.
They said he was
Right. Right.
And he sinned. Now now he has to pray for it to
It's
grow
so interesting that you're saying that, because to put prayer in a negative, like to me, prayer is only positive.
Yeah, but maybe the world is meant to be like that. They really have to toil and.
Right.
So sin
Right.
goes over that.
Right. Okay. So then the Tzif says, we talked about the Siach, right? The Siach are shrubs. It says the Siach of the field had not yet grown. Before there was prayer, which is called the Siach of the field. And Yitzchak went out to have Siach, right? The smoke in the field. So all this, so it's kind of like what you're saying, right? And Rashi says it teaches that grasses were standing at the entrance of the earth until Adam came and prayed. we learn from here that Hashem desires the tefillas tzaddikim, and there was that for man was needed for God, which is prayer, and which was not yet present. Okay, I'm just trying to do this quick so we can go on to the next one. So the Medrash says that man is Adam, right? Geshem, rain is Geshem, and earth is Aretz. Aretz. They're all three-letter words. If there's no land, there's no rain. If there's no rain, there's no land. And without the two of them, there's no man. Eretz, Geshem, Adam are all. This is from the Medrash.
Interrelated.
All interrelated. Were it not for man, there would be no covenant for the land to receive rain. So obviously when we're saying man,
So a part of Shema, the second part.
Yeah,
if you don't make amendments of the heaven. So
right?
so
Right. So I'll just end with that, because that's a very good point. So anyway, so first we're just, so what I'm saying is that man, Geshem, and land, Adam, Geshem, and Arz are all interrelated. But when we're saying man, we're not just saying what did you do for man, right? We're talking about tefillah, okay? And it's very right, but it is very important to realize what Leah said is that and if you listen to Hashem's voice, and there'll be rain. It's very, very important. I just heard this also. So that is the second paragraph. It's a second paragraph of Shema. What's the first paragraph?
Yes, that's
V'ahavta Hashem Elokecha. This goes back to what I was saying before about like Avinu Malkeinu, of having this mindset as going into Rosh Hashanah that Hashem loves us and we love Him, and that's the relationship that we're supposed to be concentrating on. A little bit too much, for some reason, it works for some people. Most people doesn't. We're working too much on this din part. We forget about Rosh Hashanah. We're supposed to have Mamtakim and Mashmanim and all, it says Nechemia, we're supposed to have yummy food. We're supposed to have sweet drinks. We're supposed to wear Shabbos clothes. Now, if you're petrified, you would not even be able to eat. You'd be like, please, are you joking? Like if I said, hey, you know what? We're gonna have like this court case, and I want you to wear nice clothes, and we're gonna have a nice suit beforehand. You'd be like, let me do the court case, and
Then we can celebrate. Let's see what's big.
no,
Just thinking of, that the whole place we really have around somebody. Everybody rejoices and comes out to have.
yeah. You know what? Also, I heard that I don't know if it was Queen Elizabeth or Prince Charles. He asked the weather, he or she, I can't remember which one. It might have even been both. They asked the weather people, what is a day that in the last 20 years it has not rained? And they chose a day for the coronation, because it's huge. I don't know, I mean, I actually heard about this. I didn't see it. We're talking about major amount of money, of horses, and the coronation's huge, right?
Queen is big in
What?
the Queen is
It's
big
huge.
thing.
They wanted to make sure it was a day that wasn't going to rain, so they asked, yes. They asked, yeah. The last 20 years, what's the day that it didn't rain? They chose that day and it rained.
time.
It was time?
It was time that it rained on that day.
Yeah, exactly. No,
There was something else like that too. It was not.
it's our life depends also on the rain.
Funeral.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the perfect day,
Right.
but to show that put in a melech.
Right.
Time,
Right.
You're nothing.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
Wow.
Wow.
Right.
When the Pope came down here.
By Tiberius.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll be in the air.
Okay.